Yes, welcome to MG 301, Facility and Event Management. I'm gonna kind of give you guys a little bit of an overview of me, because I am probably not your instructor. Although I do teach this course often, but this is my background. So as you're looking at this is definitely what we're all about, what I'm all about. I've had about 20 years of experience in the facility and event management category before coming to Limestone, and I had another 15 years in culinary schools. But that again, so I know quite a bit about facilities and events, definitely large events. So I'm Dr. Noel Ridsdale, an assistant professor of management here. So I'm going to go ahead and be walking you through these series of videos in relation to facilities and events. You'll get some inside tips and some tidbits as I go through here, and I work on commenting on these. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and take a look at we're going to look at 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2. So the first part of it is an introduction to facilities and events. Okay, so we're going to kind of cover some of these things like types of event facilities, scope of events, and then some unique attributes that run with these items. Okay, facilities and events. So when you take a look at types of facilities, when we talk about facilities, we are talking everything from football stadiums, baseball stadiums, arenas, convention centers, even. Okay, anywhere that a facility that can be used to facilitate an event. Okay, and then we're going to really dive into these different aspects as we go through it. Excuse me there. So we have with this aspect of all these facilities and events, we've got all these topics that we're dealing with. The biggest one these days is an experience. It's not just an event. So when you're looking at attending to a concert or to a football game, it's all about the fan experience. Okay, so and how we can make that better. We want to make that an actual event, an experience for them, so they'll remember it. It used to be just I want to go to the football game, but now you want to make sure that everything is there. Sustainability, as with any business these days, sustainability is a very large factor. How can we not impact the environment? And for us, in the events industry, we still have a ways to go for sustainability. We generate a lot of trash, no doubt about it. Violence and security, okay? Things like terrorism, crowd control, security screening, emergency action plans. All of these now in this day and age are at the high priority list. Nobody wants to have a terrorism event in or outside their facility. It just doesn't, it doesn't bode well. Technology, all those new gadgets and screens and everything. Innovation, the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, once again, this is one of those areas that's now, it's always been there, but now it's even more and more important. There's much more scrutiny on it. Diversity of revenue streams. Before, where it used to be just you run the football season and it's over. You may have a couple of events in a football stadium after that. Now it's like, okay, what else can we do? Diversity of revenue streams. So now we're going to throw a soccer team in there. So now we've got football, we've got soccer. And how do we manage that? Also, do we throw in some concerts a year? Okay, they're looking at all avenues of revenue. Employee training, much more important in these times. You want to keep your employees, which means you really do want to keep them moving, keep the employees there, which means you got to train them and really take care of them. Fan and health safety, this is a big one from COVID. You see stepped up cleaning, much more attention to detail in the cleaning and sanitation in between events. Marketing has changed a lot. So now we're looking at differences in the way you're marketed. So it used to be just some signs up on there. And then they come down. Now it's okay, how can we include those big screens, and where else do we want to sponsor to get our name out there? Facility design. We'll be talking more about this later in the term, but when you've got a facility now, that facility design means that the facilities are now designed around the fan experience and security. They actually take both of those things into mind. And then again, technology, which kind of is cashless systems, using the use of data analytics, and a lot of using technology in planning. Okay. I left this in here. It is a few years old, but basically, 73% of electricity consumed is basically inside the sports and entertainment area. So that's a lot of electricity. 40% of the raw materials, 38% of CO2 emissions, 30% of wastewater produced, or 30% of the waste produced, and 13.6% of the water consumed. So when you start looking at those numbers, we definitely have a ways to go. It's better now, but it's still not there. Increasing emphasis on looking at net zero buildings. Okay, Levi's Stadium, for instance. Also the one in Las Vegas, the Raiders Stadium. The Leadership in Energy LEED certification. This is one of those where the LEED certification is a certification that energy a group puts out that certifies that you're energy compliant. So as you look at designs, how much natural light can you use? How much, and where you can't get natural light, what are you using for those light bulbs and the lighting, and how energy efficient is it? Also, you're looking at cost-related concerns. This was always a big one for us, is balancing costs with economic impact. Okay, corporate social responsibility didn't used to be as big a deal, but now, like with every major company, it is how are they viewed? And then integration across operational areas. So you see a lot of companies now that actually do integration between all of these: recycling, composting, construction, cleaning. So trying to figure out how we can manage that, the efficiencies that come with that. Violence. These are just a few of them. Okay. You've got among these other ones, you've got the 2 years ago where there was the attack on the concert outside in London. One of the cities in the UK. I can't remember if it's London or one of the other ones. The concert that was in Alabama, I'm going to actually show you. We'll actually take a look at video from there. What happened in those areas. These are all areas where violence has occurred or something major has happened. Okay. And there are plenty more examples of that. Fan violence, which has always been a case. Things like soccer violence in Europe, for instance. At times where where violence has occurred outside the stadium. As well as even in the U.S., we've had issues where there's been violence inside, mostly outside facilities, but occasionally inside. But usually those are not large violence, but they are, people get drunk, people sometimes get violence. It kind of goes with the territory. Okay, technology. This is some of the ways we're looking at them. LED lighting, security and crowd control, payment systems, concessions. Data analytics is another big one. Analyzing your customers and what they're buying and where they're buying it, and how are you reaching them. And then of course looking at the fan experience, making sure Wi-Fi is compatible and it can handle 80,000 people in your stadium. That social media connectivity is there. You want them posting their videos and their signs and those inside and having fun with them inside the facility. Video boards, replay, coaches challenges. Oh yeah, all these definitely add to the fan experience. Definitely looking at design. And we'll be looking at things. And we'll get into these a little bit in more detail as we get along. But things like design. Okay, using new materials. You can see the SoFi Stadium in LA, for instance, has a really, really cool architectural to it. Jones and the Dallas Cowboys were one of the bigger ones of that one, and still use it. Fan experience is again back at that forefront. Now in innovation, now where you're looking at hillside boxes, restaurants and clubs. The Charlotte Stadium that we toured not too long ago has a soccer club that's around on the field. They also have a upper end suite which is really more one large suite divided into a bunch of mini suites. But again, that's right behind the goalposts of one of the end zones. So you're really looking at every avenue of design to bring that fan experience closer to them. And also looking at what other events we can host. Okay, so let's take a look at operations now. That's been my name was more coverage, but it was still operations. And it's event planning, production, and control. I would say that that's probably the biggest thing right there. Is we're always working as an integrated team, which is this interdisciplinary approach. It just doesn't. It means that we all contribute to that aspect of being able to push forward the event. But we all have our own specialties, and each one of us has to work out details between them all the time. Okay? So if you look at the diagram, basically what you as the event manager are the go-between. Okay, you got spectators on one side, participants in the other, and sponsors on the other side. Okay, and I even challenge the fact that you've got probably employees in one side of that as well. Participants obviously are teams that are involved in the swing event or the concert. Spectators are all your fans that come in, and your sponsors are the people who have the big dollars. They're the big dogs up in the suites. And you've got to make sure that you're taking care of their needs, wants, and desires, all of them. Okay. So it can definitely conceptualized in a triangular way. Okay. So we take a look at the process. Okay. So you start out with figuring out what you would like to do. Then you're looking at recruiting, training, retention of police and volunteers. Volunteer groups play a huge role in especially in food service, being able to manage these larger, some of these stands, concession stands, giving also employees to do that. Community incorporations, okay, risk management. We'll be talking a lot about risk management as we get down the course a little bit more. Best management relations, and then looking at all aspects of the operations. These are the operational areas: security, crowd control, safety, food service, merchandise, parking, and then field and facility operations. So you look at we can frame these in two different ways. This is the festival frame, okay, and then we're going to look at the conceptualization. So if you take a look at this in here, the festival frame puts everything in the festival aspect of looking at it from the actual customer's perspective. So the actual center of that is going to be whatever that event is, okay? And then the next one out is the scene, okay? So the spectacle aspect of it. The festival is everything that's around it. The concourse, the entrance, the parking, all of those types of things, all those external rings, okay? You want to look at how your guest is going to travel those rings to get down to the field of the core, wherever the event is. Now, the next one is a little bit more jumbled, okay? And this is where you look at, it looks like, yes, a Rubik's Cube, okay? And I would say probably this is fairly accurate, okay? You start out at the top there with the concept of the event, look at the brand orientation, the occasion, and then is it occasion oriented or is it brand oriented, okay? Or is it both, okay? Is it recreational oriented? Is it infotainment? Is it work oriented? Okay, so you get down to the focus of the event, okay, as you get closer to there. So what we're looking at that is, okay, you take a look at a concert. So where does a concert fall? Probably a concert is going to be probably brand oriented, right? It also might be recreational oriented, so it could be actually both of those, okay? But realistically, as you follow through there, is it then you start to look at the target group of the event, okay? So is it in-house? Concert's not going to be in-house. That would be like a football team, basketball team, somebody who actually has residence there. It could be true, but probably the concert's not. It's going to probably be external. Okay, so then as you work your way down through this cube, it kind of gives you an idea of where things would fall. Where would a concert fall? Where would a football game fall? Would a basketball game? Any of those? Because then it makes a whole difference in how you do things. Okay, this is the life cycle of an event. Okay, comes up from an idea. Then it goes to the cost-benefit analysis. Then we go to pre-planning. Then we go to planning. Then we go to training, execution, move out, clean up, and then a post-event debrief. Pretty much, this is the entire life cycle of the event, and I've followed hundreds of these. Okay, so when you start to look at the aspects of what we're looking at here, event strategy. Okay, look at where the event is on either the cube or the festival frame, kind of figuring out how you're going to solve those problems of getting message out and the people in. Situation analysis, okay, what's going on? Does it fit? You're going to be doing a SWOT analysis typically for most events, emphasizing on the opportunities and threats. The event planning, you start looking at things like an organizational chart, which typically doesn't vary a whole lot depending on the event. It could vary a little bit, but usually it doesn't vary a whole lot. Management usually stays the same. Identify the functional areas, and then a master timeline schedule towards completion. Okay, so you're responsible for most of the event timeline as the event manager. And you get the size and the scope of the event, whether it's ticket or not, chance of success. You're looking at all these aspects, resource analysis, finances and guarantees, and we'll be definitely getting into those a little bit more as we go through the course. Event staffing. This has not changed in probably 35 years, at least. Okay, the single most difficult aspect of producing an event is finding staff. Larger the scale, the more staff you need. I can tell you that we've spent many hours trying to figure out how to staff events. And then when you add certain types of events that need security clearances as well, then you're adding another layer of issues. Staff types and categories, okay. We have paid, okay, which is all your paid employees. They can be part-time, they can be full-time, they might be temporary. They might be loaned, which means they come from some other building or some other facility, not uncommon. And then you're going to have second-handed, which is again, somebody that they move in for a while to help out. So loan is kind of where it usually works with more of your hourly employees. When we call seconded, that's where you're really getting people to come in on a temporary basis for a particular period of time, which I've done a couple of times. And then specific duties and responsibilities, at what's going to happen during the event. Make sure you've got job descriptions, titles, understanding the structure, who's in charge, who's their boss. Okay, you got to make sure that you really get them to understand this. Okay, training. Definitely we do. I can tell you the checklist system we have handled many times. Logistics and coordination, making sure that everybody is changed, and making sure that you have a good professional culture. As with any organization, but in sports events, it's more important to have a culture. You're working a lot, these events are long. It's not easy work. Tabletop and brainstorming exercises are what we do, especially with larger events, trying to figure out how it could possibly be the best way to work. Okay, we work to train everybody, including volunteers. Okay, we don't ever assume knowledge. Encouraging and empowering staff to solve their own problems. I was a huge proponent of that. Okay, make a decision. I tell my supervisor staff, make a decision. If it's not the best one or it's the wrong one, we'll talk about it in the debrief. And making sure that everybody has good communication. Accept the fact that you're going to have to punt occasionally. Okay, you're going to have to make decisions that may not be the best. You also need to accept the fact that you may make a decision for that decision may be there for may not be the best one, may not be the one you like, but it is the best one in the time frame. Okay, also you have to change, adapt, and overcome because there's going to be things that are out of your control. I've had plenty of examples of these types of things that are out of your control. You have things like a truck doesn't come on time. You have there was a deluge the night before of rain, and now places where you had set up were not ready to go because they're soaked. You got to change out items and product, and may even have to change locations. So these are all things that could happen, and you got to be ready to adapt. Okay, tracking tracking the event in real time. We used to we always monitored sales, also production. Everything we track it in real time and make adjustments where we need to. And then these are some of the other aspects that are allowing for adaptation and problem solving. Going to definitely happen with that. You can't micromanage in these types of facilities. If you micromanage, it's not going to go well because it's too large. You have to let go. Let your staff do what they're supposed to do. Okay. And communication, again, can't emphasize that enough, communication. Okay, when you bring up brings up the event, a conception spans the domains of the event. A perfect plan, okay, is as well as perfect execution is rare. Okay, the plan my saying was we plan to succeed, and then when the plan doesn't work, we still figure out a way to succeed. Okay, so even though it's thorough and you have several alternatives, there's going to be some times where you just have to figure it out. Timing's critical. Deviations should be expected. Biggest thing, people not showing up to work on time. One of those biggest things. And then the event continues after the final spectator leaves. Okay, we have cleanup, we close out, lots of accounting and reconciliation. Settlement has to happen. Data collection for the event evaluation, the debrief. one of my most important factors of I always consider this is because you learn a lot about what happens. It might not happen again, or it might happen again. You don't know. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of make those go forward. You're just going to figure out a way to make it work. And then we discuss whether that worked, it didn't work, or we figure out another way to handle it. Okay. Post-event debriefings. Basically, it was always, this is the way we always handle it. It was either what went well, what didn't go so well, what can we improve? Okay. What didn't work well? Where did we end up with? Why did we end up with that? How did people react to it? And we used to do this for food and for the building, the facility. So we reviewed every single event